All right. Well, if more folks have on, and we can introduce themselves. But in the interest of time, let's get started. So thanks everyone for introducing yourselves in the chat. It really helps my colleague Jack and I know how to best serve you all. So here's what we'll be doing today. So give you a little bit of an introduction into who is overseeing this McKnight Award at the Loft, at the partnerships team. Quick overview of what is the Loft, if you're not familiar. Some highlights of the McKnight Award, and specifically like what the winners get to have. What are the perks of the award? Some key dates and deadlines for you to keep in mind, and then we'll spend the bulk of our time on eligibility requirements and any Q&A from you all if you have some more specific questions for Jack and I. And if you have any questions, please, as I'm going along, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and my colleague Jack will help alert me to them and can answer them in real time. You don't have to wait until the end for Q&A, but please jump in with questions as you need to. Oops. Okay, so who's who? So my name is Chrisetta Barini. I use she or they pronouns. I'm the partnerships manager at the Loft Literary Center. Also on this call is my colleague Jack Harris, who is the partnerships coordinator. If you have any questions about the McKnight Award, you can always reach the both of us at this email at the bottom, awards@loft.org. And that way, if you have anything specific about eligibility, if you're, if one thing that has happened sometimes is somebody will submit their application before the deadline and, oh my gosh, I need to withdraw and resubmit. You can always send us a quick notification, if you want to fix some typos on your application or anything like that. So awards@loft.org is the best way to reach us. Jack and I manage all of the awards programs at the Loft, so the McKnight, as well as the Mentor Series, which is part of the Jerome Emerging Artists Fellowship, Jerome Foundation Fellowships, and then we also do the Minneapolis, the City of Minneapolis Poet Laureateship as well. So for some poets who might be looking into that in the future, you'll see Jack and so what is the Loft Literary Center? Some of you may already know, but just a quick rundown of who the Loft is and a little background. The Loft was founded way back in 1974, so we're in our 51st year. The Loft advances the power of writers and readers to craft and share stories, to create and celebrate connections, and to build just, life-sustaining communities. We envision a world where the power of the word liberates minds, deepens relationships, and inspires movements for people and the planet. As an anti-racist organization, the Loft develops programs for readers and storytellers because racism humanizes people, and stories in verse reconnect us to our shared community. Recognizing the relationship between race, power, and resources, we prioritize the engagement of BIPOC and marginalized communities and work for the equitable distribution of our power and resources. And one way we do that is making these grants available to support artists so that we can get more poems, stories, beautiful books out into the world, especially from Minnesota artists like yourselves. So what is the McKnight? If this is your first time applying, or if this is your 10th time applying, if you've won this award before, there might be some things that you might not know about. So the first, of course, the headline of the McKnight Award is that you get $25,000 in unrestricted support for mid-career artists. So for the 2026 award cycle, that is, 4 fellows in poetry and spoken word will be awarded, and 1 fellow in children's literature for ages 8 and under. You do not have to create any product at the end of this. If you win this award and you just want to use it to sleep, that is up to you. But of course, there are other really great perks that come with this award. First and foremost, you get 10 hours of artist career consultation from spoken word artists. So if you want some advice on how to redesign your website, if you need to, if you're going to take some time off from your, day job to have this award, and you need to think about health insurance in this landscape. Springboard connects artists specifically with like healthcare insurance workers who understand the artist life and the artist economics and insurance. So that is something that's really useful as well. And this one, a lot of people don't realize do this. In fact, I was just talking with Art Colson, who won the award in 2022, and Art just went on his residency this past April, having forgotten that this was a perk available to him. But you can take a 1 to 2 week residency from a list of 16 domestic sites. And one of the great things about it is that McKnight covers your airfare and gives you a stipend, and a lot of these residencies apologies for that, folks. Thanks for your patience. Internet dropped a minute. This is my bad for being in a public space. Okay, let's try again. So we were talking about residencies. So you get 1 to 2 week residency from a list of 16 domestic sites. McKnight pays for your airfare and a stipend while you're there. You get a $2,000 stipend during the residency, and you don't have to take this residency during your McKnight year. I was just talking with Art Colson, and he took his residency just this year, having won the award in 2020 or 2023. Excuse me. So that is a really exciting opportunity. And finally, one of my favorite things, this helps build community. The fellows and any honorable mentions from the award get a private luncheon and craft talk with the judge when that judge comes to town for a meeting at the Loft in 2026 or 2027, depending on when we schedule them. So here's some key dates and deadlines to be aware of. Today we have the second info session. If you would like to talk to me directly and talk through eligibility or the application, your last day to request a phone call or have a meeting is Friday, November 21st. Just thinking about the Thanksgiving holiday and making sure we all have time to meet. And also, of course, the main deadline is Sunday, November 30th. So if you have time off over Thanksgiving holiday, if you're not traveling, it's a great opportunity to get that done. And if you have submitted before November 30, but you're like, oh no, I accidentally left my name on my work sample, or oh, actually I want to put a different work sample in, or I want to rewrite my artist statement, you have until November 30 to withdraw and resubmit. That is totally fine. It's happened before. So if you feel like you need to do that, that is available to you. But no more changes after 11:59 on November 30. And finally, another key date is we announced the winners and the identities of the judges in late April. We keep the identities of the judges secret because we want you to submit your best work, not necessarily what you think so-and-so judge would prefer. We don't want you to try to match their style and taste. We want you to put your best foot forward. And also, if you have applied before and you have not won, this is a great opportunity to resubmit because this year's judge might have a very different taste, style, expertise than the last time you submitted. So that's something to keep in mind and to, hopefully give you the courage and perseverance to continue applying, because every year it's a different, it is a different judge and a whole different, style and appreciation to measure your work to. So for all disciplines, whether you are applying in children's literature, or poetry and spoken word, please keep in mind some of these eligibility requirements. First and foremost, we need a proof of residency. So just like when you register to vote, you know, we need to see your Minnesota state ID or driver's license, a copy of your utilities bill, and also make sure that the image that you upload into Submittable is legible. We've had to mark people ineligible in the past because there was a glare and we couldn't see their ID. Or like the image was fully blacked out for some reason, it didn't upload well, they didn't double check, and we had to mark that person ineligible. So really be specific, make sure that everything comes through clearly. All applicants need to include a work sample. It should be in 12-point font, unless your poetry uses a specific typography that speaks to the where the formatting is integral to the poem itself. You need to use 12-point font and double space for prose. Single space is acceptable for poetry. Do not include your name on any part of the work sample. So it shouldn't be in the file name, it should be in the header, you don't need a cover page. And your work sample can be a work in progress, it can be something that has already been published traditionally, or it could be a self-published work. Keep in mind that self-published works do not count as your proof of publication, but you can use self-published work as your work sample if you feel it is your strongest. So if you have been a recent winner of the McKnight, any recipients who won in 2021, 22, 23, 24, or 25 in any discipline, so even if you won for dance or pottery or a culture bearer, you cannot apply to any of the writing disciplines this year. However, if you were an honorable mention in any of those years, you are welcome to apply again. And finally, another note on this proof of publication. If you are showing that you have published a book in a book that has gone through the traditional publishing model, has gone through an editorial process, we will need a photocopy or scanned image of the title and copyright page. Similar for journals and anthologies, if you have an article or a piece in a journal or an anthology, we'll need photocopies of either the cover or title page or the table of contents that shows where your work appears. And if it's an online publication that has an editorial process, so for example, you know, Kenyon Review, Paranoid Tree, and of these fantastic online publications, please provide links and screenshots of your publications. So things that are ineligible proofs of publication, these don't count towards your establishing as a mid-career artist, as a beyond emerging artist for eligibility. Student-only publications and self-published books do not count. Any work published on personal homepages or online sites that do not have an editorial process, for example, a blog, your own personal blog, that would not count as proof of publication. Work in a genre outside the category in which you are applying. So for example, I am a journalist. If I were to include, you know, something like that I wrote as a journalist, I could not then use it to apply for a poetry award. Makes sense, right? If you are, if you're especially applying for spoken word, if you have a feature performance at a venue where the lineup was curated by you, if you put on a showcase, if you put on a reading, and you were a headliner at that event, once again, and any work that has previously won a McKnight Fellowship for Writers. So if you've won in the past and you put your best work sample out there, do not resubmit that work sample again. You know, try a different thing. And finally, if you've worked as a translator, translating another writer's work, then that is not eligible for counting as proof of publication. So we're going to talk specifically for some specific eligibility requirements for the children's literature ages 8 and under category. Some notes about the manuscript. It's a little technical, so bear with me. The manuscript has to be at least 5 pages, but no more than 20 pages in length. So, for example, if you have a children's book manuscript, and children's books, they're usually around 700 words. So if that manuscript is under 5 pages on its own, you need to include um, more samples of other aspects of your work, so another manuscript, to get to at least 5 pages. Now, you can submit more than 5 pages, especially if you have multiple manuscripts that you want to include as your work sample. It's just that the max has to be 20 pages. Um, Poetry can be single spaced, prose should be double spaced. You can submit a dummy manuscript including illustrations. However, the dummy manuscript should still be 20 pages or fewer. Don't try to format to include multiple spreads on one printer page. This will display you. I've seen it happen before. So select 20 pages from if you're including a dummy manuscript as your sample. Um, and as an example of that, I've seen an author try to put 40 pages onto formatted onto 20 printer size PDFs, and they were marked not passed. So that's why I highlight that. Okay, so in the poetry spoken word category, your proof of publication should be either poetry or spoken word, not both. So, for example, if you are including your audiobook as your sample, you do not also have to include 12 your 12 poems published across at least 3 journals as your sample. It's one or the other. So for your work sample, applicants must submit at least 15, but no more than 18 pages of poetry from the manuscript of a poetry manuscript in 12-point font. Do not put more than 1 poem per page. Applicants may also submit 8 to 10 minutes of audio recorded poetry. If you're submitting an audio recording of spoken word poetry, you must also include a written transcript of the document in the document. And then for proof of publication, we need for books, like I said before, a scanned image of the title and copyright pages, um, your name listed in the index or glossary or table of contents for a journal and anthology. Audio, if you have an audiobook or album, a scan or a picture, screenshot of the album cover. For proof of a one-person show that you did not yourself mount. A scan of the program for the event, or a short letter from the producer, who isn't you, or the presenting organization. And for proof of being a feature performer, stating the performance venue, the name, program if you have it, month, date, time, the future performance. And I really want to stress make sure it's not a self-published presentation, because we are looking for work that has been through an editorial process. Someone else has said that has vouched for your work and has helped to present it. It's kind of the basis of the McKnight Awards. All right, I just did a whole bunch of talking. Q&A. Any questions?
I had one.
Yes, please. I'm going to turn off my. Okay, go ahead.
You might already said this, but I'm just not sure. So this is my first manuscript I'm entering in, do we need to put in the page number as like where the illustration and the words are going to be? Can I include that in the text?
Yes,
Yeah.
illustration notes are totally fine. Like if
Okay.
you're gonna, on this page, you would have XYZ illustration that is acceptable to add.
Okay. And then like page one, or you know how they'll write the page and that's the words that go on
Mm-hmm.
that. That's fine too. Because I
Yep.
think right now my manuscript is four pages, so that would help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, any other questions? Okay, we have a question in the chat. Eligibility purposes. Let's say you only have 10 publications, but you also meet the performance requirements. Are you still eligible? Good question. I would say, Ash, that you would just include your performance requirements. Um,
Good.
if you do not, if
Okay.
you do not have the print, the print published. Oh no, am I losing you guys again?
I can hear you. You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Krista,
Okay, I'm
that
gonna turn
might
off.
help if you turn off the video. Yeah.
I did,
Okay.
yeah. So, thank you. Sorry, everyone. Um, yes, if you're in 10 publications, we need 12. But if you meet the spoken word or the performance requirements, run with that one.
Okay. I guess I got a
That will
little
be,
confused because because in the application, we're supposed to pick poetry or spoken word, and the
mhm,
submission I'm doing is technically for poetry and not spoken word, even though I have the
mhm.
spoken word requirements, but that's still okay?
It's totally okay.
Okay, okay. I wasn't
And
sure.
I know yeah, it's for the proof of publication side that you need to kind of pick a lane.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
but you would still be eligible for the poetry award. So
okay, okay,
I would suggest um you you for your eligibility route you run with the performance if you already do
okay,
that.
okay. I have another question if that's okay then.
Yes, please.
So I wanted to check in and see because there's different ways to be published.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have 10 print publications, but I also have poetry being featured in art exhibits that are coming
Mm.
up. And I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
that's not listed. So I didn't know if that it's like they're gonna be there.
Sure.
Um, and
Do
then
you
if it did count, I wasn't sure how to do proof of that.
that is a really that is something that you bring up a great point because I've also been thinking about like if people are included in St. Paul sidewalk poetry or
Yeah.
um, commissioned to be part of a mural. I should I if it's part of an exhibit, if
Mm-hmm.
there is a program from the exhibit, or if you could take a screenshot from the website that is promoting the exhibit,
Okay.
um, I would say include that.
Include that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would count too.
Yes, I think so. You're like, especially in public art settings, your poetry is being vetted before it's being put out into the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that that counts. Jack and I are the
Okay.
ones looking over eligibility, so I'm going to say that
Okay.
counts.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
In that 200 word blurb of our identity kind of thing, do the judges see that and how much weight is given to it?
Good question. The judges do not see that because usually you're including like personal identifying information about yourself, like so and so is a Duluth-based poet with XYZ. So we look at that as eligibility purposes.
Oh, okay. So you have to be like, how is that judged or how is that based on eligibility?
Because it helps us understand how you are a beyond emerging writer and
that talks about our ethnicity and religion and all that stuff. That's what I'm talking.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. So when you're talking about the demographic profile is, that is optional. You do not need to include your demographics on your application. And that is also, if you do choose to share that, that helps us with our reporting to the McKnight Foundation so that the McKnight Foundation can understand whether these awards are going to a diverse group, to a wide variety of Minnesotans. Um, and um, and the also when the judges are reading the anonymized work samples of the applicants, they are allowed to reach out to me and ask, what is the identity of poet number 240, for example, so that we can understand whether there's cultural appropriation happening in the work sample. So if I was applying, I am a Filipina writer, and if I was writing about my Filipina experience, but my name and my identity were not enclosed in my anonymized work sample, the judge could ask, what is the identity of this writer, to understand a little bit, like if they are coming from a lived experience perspective when they're writing about a certain identity, if that makes sense.
Okay. So it's the award is based strictly on the work?
Yes, the judge is the primary, the judge is primarily looking at the work samples
Okay, thanks.
to make their determination.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
We've lived out of state for a little bit this summer, but we maintained our Minnesota residence. Does that change my eligibility for the residency requirement?
If Minnesota is still your primary place of residence for the majority of the year, then that counts as eligibility.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also had a question about
Yes.
the sample. So I know we won't know who the judges are, and we're encouraged to submit what we feel is our best work. However, is there a preference for submitting poems that are thematically linked, or should we try to show range, or is it better to? You might not know that, but
I mean, that is entirely up to you.
okay.
And how you want to present yourself as a poet. Do you want to show that you have range, or do you want to say that I am the prose poet nature writer, right? Like, that is,
Okay.
that is a decision that you can make.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had one more question. So
Please.
are the judges going to be, like for picture book, they're picture book authors, or are they just?
Yes. Yep. So the judges for each of the disciplines are highly regarded in their discipline. For example, the 2025 award was for creative prose, and 2 Fridays ago we had Valeria Luiselli, who was the McKnight judge for creative prose. She visited the loft and did a reading. She's a MacArthur Genius Grant. She has won awards internationally. In the past for poetry, we've had the loft has been managing this award since 1982. So we've had the likes of Mahogany Brown, Patricia Smith, Joy Harjo as judges, right? So and in children's books, so for this year we have for 2025 we've have award-winning Native American middle grade author Christine Day, and then last year 2024, so for this same award in children's books we had Don Tate who's written dozens of books and has won many awards as well. So we're talking like high caliber, very well regarded judges who are very respected in their fields, that will be reading your work. And for the finalists, for the honorable mentions, you will be getting a paragraph of critique back from those judges, which is
Great.
super valuable.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. These are fantastic questions. Thank you, everyone. Any other thoughts or things coming to mind?
Question about, so you can, if you apply to poetry, and you don't get it, it's fine to apply for fiction or prose next year.
Definitely.
Okay, but okay, if you do get it, you have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason why you couldn't apply again is if you won.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
in any discipline. So even if you won as a dancer, this you cannot apply. Also, if you do apply, so all of the different McKnight Awards are opening up right now or will be within the next couple months. If you do apply this right now in poetry, you could not then go apply for fiber arts in a couple of weeks or
Okay.
culture bear in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So you can only apply to one discipline across all the McKnight Awards per year, and that even goes, you cannot apply to both poetry and children's.
Mhm.
And the only reason why you couldn't apply again in the future is if you win.
Okay.
Great questions. Anything else, folks? Oh, thank you, Emiko. Yeah, I'm happy to help you all out. Once again, awards@loft.org. That's how you'll reach Jack and myself with any other eligibility questions. We are super excited. I'll give you a little inside sneak peek. In the past, we have received upwards of 100 applicants for poetry and over 50 for children's. So if you're wondering like what chances are, how many people apply, those are the numbers that we're looking at. So it's competitive, but that's not, that's definitely a smaller pool than the state arts board, for example, right? So please, please, please get your applications in. It's a great experience, and at the very least, an author who is internationally renowned and has a lot of skill is going to be looking at your work, and that is extremely important too. So thank you all for your questions today. Thanks for coming out. I'll send a video of this to you soon in your inboxes for your reference. And I hope you enjoy a lovely Saturday. Get out to the Twin Cities Book Fest if you haven't yet today. It's a fun time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
soon.